And today I want to talk to you about meth shacks, how to fix them. The first and best way to fix a meth shack is to not buy one in the first place. If that doesn't work out for you, and you do end up owning one, first thing is get yourself a good, cheap lighting setup. And this is just a battery and some Chinese lights on a bracket aimed in a couple different directions. And the reason you're going to want to do this at night is because with the cooler weather, the snakes go to bed. They don't have the action that they do during the hot daylight. And, you know, that's a bonus. Now, the second part, or second step in repairing your meth shack, and this is a rural problem mostly, because codes and the closeness of busybodies, the high density of busybody neighbors in a liberal urban environment almost certainly ensures that junk like this just doesn't get built anymore. So you're really only going to see this in the rural places where, you know, you can get shot for climbing somebody's fence and poking your damn nose around where it doesn't belong, which is where I choose to live. Now, so first thing you're going to do when you decide that you own one of these things and you need to work on it is you get underneath here and you evaluate just how shitty of a job somebody did. So, for instance, did they use 2x6 lumber to carry big unsupported spans? And did they toenail all the joists? Yeah, I mean, so just evaluate, do they have enough toenails stuck in there? And how much are they pulling out? How much sag do we have? How many fingers can you fit between the carry beam and the cross tie, I guess you could call it, the studs? Did they build it on any kind of centering, or was it just random? How many holes did they saw in the flooring and in the beams when they decided they needed to shoot some plumbing through? Did they just drill right through the beam? Did they saw right through it? How many places do you have a rim joist, a single rim joist built out of a 2x6 that just doesn't even connect with the member on the opposite side? Can you see what I'm talking about here? Do you notice that this ends here and that's a piece of OSB? Can you see that now? I think that this guy's board stretcher was probably on loan to another meth head when he built it, because you're supposed to have that thing actually get all the way across, particularly when you're going to have an entire house supported by a 2x6, a single 2x6 that's not actually fastened to anything and that's spanning two piers for the entire 8 feet. You're not even really supposed to build tree houses this way, never mind actual houses. Now, another rule with meth heads is that, well, first off, turn your brain off. Don't use your brain when you're going to do anything important. Second, when you're going to nail things down, make sure that you miss the framework as often as possible, okay? So forget how to use math to put tape measure lines so that when you're nailing down paneling or screwing, like with a box of 4-inch screws, make sure that you miss continually. That's a big ticket item here. You need to miss a lot. And if anything goes wrong, I don't know if you can see way ahead up in there. If anything goes wrong, you just need more toenails. Never ever sister a joint. That's a sign of weakness. You have little faith in singular 2x6s. Now, here's another good one. Make sure that your 2x6s are actually able to cock over sideways. Can you see that that's at about a 30-degree lean? Let me try to get this a little bit better right here. It's not a fun situation I'm in laying under this disgusting pit here. Can you see that this one here is vertical and this one here is oh so sloped? And that's, you know, supporting a major traffic hallway that's up above it. Now, another factor, you got to use random scraps of previously used material. You know, I'm not going to knock anybody for that. It's a good piece of material. I'll pick it up too. But when you do plumbing work, the absolute thing you don't want to do is put primer before you put the glue on your joint. So you want the joint to still be porous so that it can leak out shit sauce on the ground, because that's the only way that there's going to be drainage when you pitch your plumbing uphill. So that when the next owner pulls that plumbing apart, it should come apart easy so they can drain out the shit trombone that is packed inside of that plumbing that's right below the toilet. You don't want them to have to work too hard to get it apart. You want it to just be a slip fit where they can yank it apart and periodically change out the dried excrement. Now, there's another location where we want to be sure that we drill through the bulk of the actual lumber that's supposed to hold the place up. And be sure to use good sized nails to anchor down that flooring, but only little ones to do the framework. And your framing nails should also be rusty, twisted, and bent from other treehouse projects. That's another big ticket item for me. So here's what you can expect when you have a meth head doing your plumbing. This is your main 4-inch waistline. No glue on that joint right there. And as soon as I sawzall that, this thing's gonna lift right off. You'd think if you were gonna pick a joint not to glue, it would be this one, so that the crap isn't leaking out the pipe and underneath your house. I mean, I'm just saying. That's how I see it. So I'm lucky to have a brave little man to crawl under the house with me, dragging all my tools and junk and jacks and everything I need. You can see inside the house because I've got the floor lifted up, because I have to get this stupid twisted joist vertical. It's twisted over like this, and I need to get it back vertical. So I'm going to put 2 pipe wrenches on it and crank on it and see what I can do. Well, I know there's not much light because it's dark, because it's winter, you know, when the sun goes down at lunch. Here you go. I don't really want to go. I might have to chop this out.
It might be actually nailed in.
It's almost like he nailed it in crooked.
Wow, surprising.
You're stupid.
I mean, that he actually nailed something.
Yeah, well, he nailed the shit out of it, just at a 45-degree angle.
Jeez.
I don't think I can. Why? How did this even happen?
Stupidity.
Oh, I'm just breaking it now. Well, never mind. I'm just going to chop this out. All right, cut. Well, there's a little update. That's where that plumbing was. That's the 4-inch stub sticking out. So I just popped that out of there to have more room. Now, and this was the joist that was right here that had all these toenails pulling out, and my solution was to put a piece of rough cut 2x8 that I sawed underneath, and every single joist that wanted to pull out has got a big, well, every single one of them will have, when I'm done, nails going up in there so that they can't back out anymore. And this kind of creates an I-beam space, like a manufactured, it's not an LVL, but it's a sort of a continuous I-beam type of process. So this, even though this is laid in a plank orientation, which is not strong, it's setting up perfectly notched for the right height so that it doesn't raise or lower the house. So there's load on here. You know, I had to like bevel that down just the right size. And then every 2 feet, 2 to 3 feet, there's a pier. And I'm just going to keep extending all the way across. Now that block right now is in the right position to support a major carry beam. And there's a load-bearing wall on that single 2x6 that had nothing under it. I added that block and that block. So there was a wall holding up almost a second floor sort of type configuration, and it had nothing. There was no ground bearing to it. That's why the jacks are there, until I can get the time to come under here and cut more lumber and continue going all the way down. And I've got to go 24 feet, give or take, in that direction. And this is the start of another one. I mean, right now I'm working on the bathroom, which is up above. This is a rough cut, about a 2x5, genuine 2-inch thick, 5-inch long. And there's another up underneath here. Now, I was able to orient this in a beam fashion, you know, an upright orientation here, and it's nailed along this edge into that plank oriented beam. And so that forms a pocket. And I don't know if you can see up there. Yep. So this forms a pocket that my ground bearing piers will go into. And I put my piers, I don't flatten the ground. I put them on a slightly pitched ground so that I can adjust the dunnage underneath, the wood shims. I can just slide forward and back just a little bit to raise and lower the height and get everything really, really perfect without having a plain custom thickness shims. I'm very happy with that process. It makes, you know, if one of these new piers settles because the compaction in the soil beneath it, you know, it's the first time it's ever bared load. So there's a possibility of compaction and then having to make an adjustment in the future. So that sloped block beneath a horizontal leveled structure allows for a really easy height adjustment. Just move the blocks of wood left or right an inch or two, you know, quarter inch, half inch. You can get 1/16 of an inch adjustment. That works really, really well. But I'm going to be doing basically a 4x4 grid of piers, or maybe even closer in a way. You know, like this row here is like every 3 feet, give or take. And then this support and this support are 4 feet apart. So this is the midpoint of the unsupported span, because these are 8-footers going that way. So the most banana shape they're gonna have, or hammock shape they're gonna have, is at 4 foot. So my kids are jumping around all over the place upstairs, and my dogs come down here and dig and knock all my stuff over and scatter dirt everywhere. That beam that was, well, not beam, but that joist that was all crooked, I sawzalled it out, just threw it away, and I took some Virginia pine, I guess. It's either white pine or Virginia pine that I sawed, rough cut, thick and wide, and I notched it for the block and the shim up there, so it's actually a bigger member than what was there previously. It is a major traffic area upstairs, and so now that's all supported. The reason I don't have another member down here with this is to give clearance for plumbing. This is about the right height for the 4-inch waistline. It's going to start right here, so I'm going to have it probably strapped right to here. And once I get the plumbing through there, then maybe I will add such a thing, but I don't really feel it's a necessity. We'll see. The upstairs is like, it used to be like walking on a trampoline. Everything was wavy. The seams of plywood were, some were up different edges. You know, there was like ledges all over the place. It's totally flat and level now. And all this bracing is, you know, to compensate for a bathtub full of water with a human in it. And I think it's gonna be pretty rigid. I put down a third layer of plywood with, you know, opposing seams of the previous layers, and the draft is dramatically improved from all the different plumbing holes he had in it and stuff. So really had to seal the house up for winter. It's getting better and better, and praise the Lord. I put off climbing underneath this nasty place for so long, and I'm happy to be getting it over with. I'll be thrilled when it's over with, but I feel pretty rejuvenated just having figured out how I'm going to address this issue in my life. because it has been a big issue. Can't wait to have it be something from the past.
Come on, Dad. Look like you trust the boy.
I'm just waiting for the butt of that hammer to take me right in the eye. Plus, these nuts are digging in my neck.
Gross.
Yeah.